Good morning, and welcome to the Huron Economic Response Task Force Monday morning check-in for March 24th. So just a reminder for participants that this meeting is being recorded and will be published to the task force website later today, just so folks can get the information when is convenient for them, because recognizing that 8:30 Monday morning isn't convenient for everybody. Well, there's really no time in the week that's convenient for everybody, so we pick one and go for it. So I have a few updates, and then we'll look for any new information from anyone else. um, and so I will start with just not go off of memory here. There are two webinars coming up related to navigating the tariff situation that I wanted to highlight right away. And so the first one is the first one's from the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. It's on Thursday, March 27th at noon. It's called Navigating the Impact of U.S. Global Tariff Strategies for SMEs. And so that should be a good opportunity for our businesses to get some strategies to help deal with it. So the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, Business Development Bank of Canada, Global Affairs Canada, and Export Development Canada are all involved in that webinar. Sounds like a lot to pack into 1 hour, but it should be a good one. So that you can find that one on the Huron Chamber website under events, and I'll be posting to the task force website later today as well. And then next week, the task force itself is hosting a webinar with some local folks in terms of again, strategies for navigating an uncertain economic climate. So that's going to be April 1st at noon. That will be posted later today. I don't have the information up online yet. And so we'll have some kind of local experts. We've got John Marshall is going to talk about some business strategy. We have Trish Gill from Ladder HR is going to talk about some things businesses can do around human resources to prepare themselves for again, an uncertain year. Dr. Aaron Ross will be joining us for the mental health aspect of things that employers can do for themselves and their employees. And the idea for this webinar, this is the one next week, is just a few things from each of these experts that they can do right now, given that we don't really know what's happening on April 2nd and beyond that. But there are some concrete things that businesses can do to kind of shore up their business that way. Paul Nickel, I almost forgot Paul. Sorry about that. Paul will be talking about from Community Futures Huron. He'll be talking about some funding opportunities from Community Futures and other sources as well. Just to at least have those kind of in your back pocket should that be necessary. Yeah, so that's coming up next week, April 1st at noon. And those are two. So I'll put those, I'm going to put a separate post up on the task force website with both of those webinars, because I think they're both kind of super relevant for our business owners as we stare down April 2nd and what's going to happen with that deadline. I don't know about anyone else. It's felt like a bit of a lull in tariff news the last week or so. At least since the steel and aluminum tariffs came in. Well, we're all kind of just waiting for April 2nd to come along and see what that actually brings, and how they're defining what's eligible or not eligible for the various tariffs. So I think we're all in a bit of a bit of a holding pattern, but that doesn't necessarily make it any easier for our businesses and business owners to prepare. I think that's all I had in terms of updates. Like I said, there hasn't been a whole lot of new. Oh, we have an election, in case anyone missed that news yesterday. So that will, in many ways, kind of bring these issues back into the headlines. But I don't. It means that there likely won't be a lot of action, at least from the federal government, in terms of um, there may be some response after April 2nd, but there'll be lots of promises, not a lot of actual kind of program announcements, and we'll see what happens on April 28th. But um, so just to complicate things further for us, make things even more uncertain in a way, right? So with that, I'll open the floor if anyone has any feedback, any new resources that you've come across that should be on the task force resource page, any new feedback from business owners that you've been hearing in terms of how things are affecting them, anything that that the task force or the chambers can assist with. We're happy to do that. Caroline?
Hey guys, so I talked to a couple of our restaurant
Oh, sorry.
owners.
One second. Could each of you just introduce yourselves whenever the first time you talk on each of these calls, just because not everyone's going to watch every call. So just so we know who everyone is. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Caroline. I'm with the Exeter BIA. I've been sort of out and about talking to some of our restaurant owners. And so they are actually already feeling the hit of increased prices. So one of the restaurants here who supports local, he actually noticed a significant increase in his costs because we are getting into the point of supply and demand right now. So with everybody switching to local produce, some of our local produce growers aren't able to keep up with the supply. And so that has, for the first time, actually, he said, in many years, this is the first time he's had a significant increase in his food costs. So obviously that's going to reflect within our restaurants. Um, I know that there was that GST, sort of that HST that was on restaurant products that I know that the restaurants had really liked to have, and it seemed to have picked up during their slow times. I don't know if that's something that once we have our new government sort of put in place, that might be something we want to advocate for because it is going to eventually hit our consumers as well. But it is a fairly significant increase. He said he had about a 30% increase over last year already. So that is just supply and demand right now. And that's because everybody's switching to that local. And it's a short term, right? Just kind of similar to COVID. So that's kind of the update here that as our restaurants switch over into a spring summer menu, they are noticing significant increases in local food costs.
Basic economics. Um, yeah, so that we're hearing that in other sectors as well, that prices are creeping up just in anticipation of tariffs and other things, and just generally making things more expensive, right? But suppliers are starting to hedge their bets and increase prices ahead of time, which um, um, makes sense in a way that they have to manage their risk as well. Hi, Ted. Go
Good
ahead.
morning. I'm Ted Oak. I work, my day job is with Farm Credit out of Clinton, but I also counselor in South Huron. And so thank you for allowing this forum to take place. Just wanted to mention in the agricultural world, Farm Credit has announced up to $1 billion of support across Canada to the agriculture industry in the form of deferrals in payments or an additional credit line facility if somebody were to need it. And they're working with agribusiness and primary producers. So that is something that was announced before, and so it's in place. If anybody is in that situation, we've had some situations where the tariffs were on for a couple days, and some guys shipped cattle or hogs across to the U.S. and got hit with a tariff, and it was only on for a couple days before it got taken back. But you mentioned that it's sort of quiet on the tariff front. In the agricultural world, the Chinese tariff is the one that's kicking us right at the moment, with the canola tariff and the pork, and not so much necessarily in this area the seafood tariff, but the pork tariff, as China is one of our countries that we do ship. And the U.S. or Canada has about 70% of their pork production goes elsewhere outside of Canada. So China is one of those markets. So so there is not just the U.S. tariff noise. It's the China tariff now in retaliation to the EV tariff that Canada put on China back last fall, sort of thing. So anyways, I just wanted an update on those. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Are you seeing a need yet for that billion, the support for the financial support for the ag sector, or is that in anticipation of things coming, or are people already talking to you about accessing that?
So no, we're not seeing a significant need yet, but we are having numerous conversations because of the producers that are good managers usually try to prepare ahead of time. And so we're having those early discussions because April 2nd is just next week, and not sure what's going to go on. The one thing that is also a factor is in Eastern Canada, some of the fertilizer still has to come in yet, and that's there could be a tariff on that yet to come, because a lot of the phosphates come from the U.S. But and some of the nitrogen products as well. So a lot of it's already in house, ready to go for the spring, but there's still the late season stuff yet to come in. So if fertilizer tariffs hit, that's another factor that could still hit this spring. And commodity prices are lower than normal, so margins were already tight in agriculture going into this season, so we don't need them to be any tighter. So
great, thanks for that, Ted. That's helpful. Anyone else have anything to share? Has anyone heard anything new? So one of the conversations that's come up in a few different tables, and I think we discussed it here last week as well, was tourism and a general kind of optimism, I guess, within the tourism industry, at least, which is kind of a silver lining in all of this. And I just want to check on that every kind of week as we approach peak tourism season, and see if anyone's heard any different from our tourism operators and what the outlook is there. As we said last week, there's no tax on no tariff on tourism at this point, but
Good morning, Colin. I'm sorry, it's Terry from Bayfield and Area Chamber of Commerce. Sorry, I can't put my hand up. I'm driving, and I apologize for that.
no worries.
We actually in Bayfield had 3 empty locations going into March 1st, and they are full. They were snapped up really, really quickly with new businesses to the area. So, I mean, that's fabulous. I'm so excited about that.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
The one thing that we are finding, and I'm sure it's the same with all retailers, and I know we've talked about it before, is we're still getting customers who are saying, well, I'm not buying that, it's American. Knowing, well, maybe they don't know that I mean, they're bought months and months and months ago. So we're working really hard with because we're really small businesses here, really boutique type businesses. So trying to get some consistent messaging to folks who are shopping, just so that every single store is kind of saying the same thing, whether they will or not. I don't know. You offer them the information.
Yeah, and that's I think continuing to be a challenge for a lot of folks where that buy Canadian messaging is good and important, but also the reality is that not everything can be sourced from Canada, and at least not at this point, and not I feel like sometimes the general public thinks that everyone could just suddenly overnight switch to Canadian suppliers for all of their stuff, and in some cases that is possible, and as Caroline mentioned, we're seeing it in local produce into restaurants and that kind of thing. But again, there's a capacity issue there. We can't replace all of our not local products with local products overnight because the capacity isn't there on the supply side. So I know most of the organizations, at least in Huron County, have been focusing on support local or buy local, or that more of a local frame rather than a buy Canadian frame. But you kind of have to balance that a little bit, because we do want to support obviously our Canadian manufacturers and our Canadian suppliers as much as we can. But a lot of those, the small scale producers of kind of Canadian goods, and whether that's food or other, they can't scale up in any kind of fast enough to meet demand. Or perceived demand, at least anyway. So I know that like I said, most of the BIAs, I think, and messaging coming out of Huron County and others is focus on that local, support your local businesses, and a lot of them are making those decisions about where products come from, but it doesn't help anybody to leave U.S. products sitting on shelves unsold for our retailers who have to absorb that cost, or giving retailers a hard time because there's U.S. products on the shelves when there's literally no other option for those products. So, or at least no immediate option, or they were purchased 6 months ago when that wasn't a problem. So there's that balance between buy Canadian and support local, and I think we're all kind of trying to walk that line a little bit. Caroline?
Hey, Terry, I kind of had like some of the similar things with some of our retailers here, because they do have some sort of American products. And so the big messaging I've been trying to get in Exeter is, support your local economy, kind of highlighting and reflecting that 66 cents of every dollar you spend stays within your local economy if you shop local. So I'm trying to spread that news so that people just kind of sense, hey, you know what, instead of going to the mall, maybe I'll go down to Designers, Him and Hers, and I'll find something there, because I know that 66 cents of that dollar stays in the local economy. And that's how I've been trying to twist that if people want to really make an impact, it is supporting local, because only 40 cents of it leaves our area. And that's kind of the messaging I've been trying to get within our social media posts. So that's sort of what we've been using here as a tactic, and that seems to be working. I haven't had any retailers say that people are coming in and looking at their products and saying no to the US. But I do have some retailers who they have customers that come in and are leaning more towards those Canadian designers, let's say, or those Canadian products, but they have been open into purchasing some American products once there is that education that I did bring in this product 6 months ago. And so that's kind of the messaging I've been trying to highlight, is that the products that are within our stores have been purchased. Supporting your local shop is going to help you keep your dollars in your local economy, which is going to have huge impact.
I absolutely agree. For us, though, our shop local has to be a little bit broader, because we're tiny. right? We're not the size of Exeter where, the community can have a significant impact. We have to have the tourism dollars. So we're looking at Shop Ontario, shop small, shop, that kind of messaging. But again, exactly the same messaging as you, just with a little bit of a broader outlook for that. But yeah, again, it's about educating folks and letting them know, look, I get it that this is American, but 7 months ago or a year ago when I ordered this at the show, there was no issue with that and you were happy. So yeah, it's coming along, but people, and I get it. I love the patriotism, but yeah, it's not all going to be able to, and there's other countries there as well, right? Like there's Mexico and China and Germany and all kinds of countries that are not American that you can also have in your stores and still support local.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have anything to raise? Seeing anything new? Yeah, go ahead, Janice.
Yeah, Janice Hallahan, CAO with Goddard. I noted on the weekend on Facebook a number of individuals that were posting shop local campaigns that a number of, I know Bruce County businesses, because I'm originally from Bruce County and Walkerton, and I saw a couple of friends and former coworkers that had posted it, branding that we should be shopping local. And I know the county of Huron is launching has launched their shop local. And I'm wondering, Chris, do you have any comments, or is there going to be similar type of marketing that we're going to be pushing out to our businesses?
Yeah, so the supporting local toolkit page is live. I posted a link in the chat, but Colin also has a link to it under his local resources on the ERTF site. But yeah, I guess to pick up on the theme that Terry and Caroline were talking about, we're really trying to balance that line between shopping, trying to support our local retailers, but also not trying to throw the Walmarts or other like fairly large employers that we have that are American owned but locally that are the parent company is owned uh, internationally, but it's the stores themselves are locally owned, and of course they're employing local people. There's some resources on that site. So our right now the buy local campaign is being led by our tourism business line. So that's Rick Sickinger and Ali. So we've had posts going out on social media and really trying to drive retailers and businesses to that supporting local toolkit site, just to help them if they have products that they're either if they're manufacturing products, if they're building something, they want to be recognized as either prepared or made in Canada, there's some resources there to get them connected, as well as any agricultural producers to help them if they want to get Ontario Foodland recognized or anything like that. But then also some resources that they can lift if they want to promote a buy local, buy Canada type of message.
Thanks, Chris. I know that the Huron County ERTF team, of course, is busy with all of the things that were already planned for gearing up to tourism season, and this is kind of, I mean, for all of us, I think, is kind of been put on top of all of the work that all of these organizations do every year around this time. So kind of tacking on the buy local campaigns and kind of sort of in many ways, in many organizations, dusting off the local campaigns that we've had in the past for various reasons. And yeah, it is. There are good resources there on that county page, and as Chris said, it's linked to from the task force website as well. Of course, there are lots of provincial, national resource. Well, while I'm talking about that page, there's lots of provincial, national resources there as well. Lots of stuff from Export Development Canada for folks who are looking to explore alternative export markets. Lots of help there. Business development. Bank of Canada as well have some resources up there from them. So yeah, so I would encourage everyone, as you come across resources like that, or other webinars or other things that could be put up there and be helpful for folks to share those with me, and I'll put them up there as quickly as I can, so that so we have that kind of running list of things, and hopefully it doesn't get too unwieldy. And like I said, we'll kind of learn more on the second, in terms of there'll be lots of kind of what is included, what's not included, and that kind of stuff, and then we'll start seeing the effects, I suppose, after that. So we're 8:57, and I don't want to keep anyone over time because we have work to get to on this Monday morning. Any last minute or last thoughts from anyone? No. All right. So I will then just leave with a reminder to Huron Chambers event calendar is a pretty good place to find. There's lots of things on there, of course, but we do host events there for all of our members as well. So there's things on there from Huron Manufacturing Association and from the county and from the Ontario Chamber. So lots of events on there if you're looking for anything, including tariff-related things like that Ontario Chamber webinar that's coming up on Thursday. So kind of in between these meetings, if you need to see what's going on, that's a good place to check. And with that, I will, I'll give everyone one more chance to speak up if you've got anything. Otherwise, we'll let you all go, and have a great week. Have a good Monday, and we'll chat again next Monday. Thanks, everyone.